in the war room. Arizona has proven in 2020 that we are not MAGA. We proved it in 2022. We are not MAGA. So now in 2024, do Arizona voters look at the border and say, Joe Biden's been such a mess, such a disaster, that maybe we do need to call crazy and maybe vote the other way? I mean, I don't think I still think we're purple. I don't think we're blue. I don't think we're red. I believe that we're purple. And Barry, you were talking about the independent vote. How will that go for Trump? We're going to find out. But I know that this is not a MAGA state. We may have a MAGA legislature. It doesn't mean that we're a MAGA state. If you look at who voted for who in 2022, it proves that it's not even.
We have a governor and
blue.
2 senators that are Democrats.
It's not even that people wanted to vote for the Democrat necessarily. It's that they didn't want to vote for the Republican.
Right. It's the candidate, guys. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Right.
People voted for Katie Hobbs because they didn't want to vote for Carrie Lake.
Right.
People voted for Adrian Fontes because there was no way they were going to vote for Mark Fincham. I mean, there's a lot of that going on, and it can easily switch the other way if Republicans put up candidates that appeal to, as Gaydos is saying, the purple state. Right. There's a whole bunch of Republicans, a whole bunch of independents, and Democrats who want people who are going to govern, are going to lead, are going to do good things.
But that's not the Republican Party anymore, and those people can't get through a primary.
Yeah.
If you're not wearing a red hat, you better not even show up for a Republican primary.
But then they can't win the general.
Correct.
Yeah.
But to Gaydos' point, if something isn't done about the border, I think that's a real boost for Trump. And I think that's something that's very motivating for voters to show up.
This is the War Room. That's Emily Ryan with Copper State Consulting. Barry Markson chiming in over there, a KTAR legal analyst. We've got some experts in the room here. And then there's me and Gaydos. We tell you what, we're going to be back with this. Here's some questions. We'll tackle this one first. Were Republican voters up in arms about election integrity yesterday? Is that still an issue in Arizona? We'll dig into it. It's coming up right here on the War Room on KTAR. We're back in the War Room. You can watch the video of the War Room just to see the hand-to-hand combat that's going on. You can go to KTAR.com, go to the video stream, and we are live on the video.
I assume there's only one camera operating on Emily, and the rest of us are not there. I mean, my goodness.
Mine's in soft focus. I've got the Carrie Lake lens on mine. It's fantastic. All right. So. Question for both of you. Again, taking a look at yesterday's election and understanding, how some Republicans in the state of Arizona are still running. Is election integrity still an issue for them?
No, because they found out in the last election they suppressed their own vote. They were trying to suppress the other vote, but they were saying, get out of line. This is rigged. Don't mail in your ballot.
Yeah.
They suppressed their own vote. So all of a sudden, everything's fine.
So I'm going to disagree only because, and I literally just went over to Twitter during the break.
Of course.
And the first 3 things on my Twitter feed are election integrity things. So,
really?
But it's the deep MAGA people who are still saying that. They're going to vote for Trump. That's none of that's going to change. But it's still an issue. Carrie Lake's still talking about it. She just filed an appeal, a request to the Supreme Court,
right?
Yeah, to look at her. She wants to get rid of the machine. She wants to get rid of.
They want to do hand counting?
Hand counting, or only voting on election day, no early ballots. Carrie Lake.
It'll take 6 weeks for us to find out who won.
She's literally at the Supreme Court so that Arizona cannot have mail-in ballots, cannot have early ballots, and there can be no machine tabulators.
Carrie Lake will never be tired of the election integrity topic. That's all she's
good
got.
Business. It's
voters
good business
are
for her,
past
isn't it?
Okay, wait.
Voters are past it.
I actually don't think voters are past it, Emily.
Really?
No. Emily Ryan is with us. Barry Markson, Gaydos, Bruce. We're in the War Room. I have Republican friends who, in their inner circles, that's all they talk about.
Really?
So I think it is still
nationally or Arizona.
Arizona.
I have friends who talk about it.
It's still a thing.
Yeah.
It's still being talked about. It's still being complained about.
How do they explain?
They ask more questions as soon as you say
Miss Yee, our treasurer, winning
because they only did enough to get Carrie Lake out and to get those other people out, but
so
not her.
They rigged the election for Mark Fincham and Carrie Lake, but they didn't want to rig the election for treasurer for Suzanne Yee.
They're saying that he won by so much it didn't get to her.
There are more people, and I'm not saying that it's a huge number, but there are a lot of folks.
Yeah, but there's people that think the
That-
Earth
I
is
get
flat
it.
also.
I get it.
And that's what it is, Bruce. It's
Well,
people.
you know, all right.
It's people who
I
love
think-
conspiracy theories. They can't believe that Trump lost. They just like saying it too. They like the own the libs kind of aspect of it.
Yeah.
Well, and a MAGA Republican is always going to say that because it's one of their core tenets. They're never going to come off of that.
It's
but
the platform.
I think the general voters, I think most of the people we encounter are not thinking about election integrity or thinking, people from California are voting there and then driving here and voting. I really don't think
You
that's
mean
top of mind for
10,000
them.
mules or whatever that was?
Whatever that
2,000
was.
mules,
2,000
which was ridiculous. By the way, can I say something about the platform? You said the word platform.
plank, the
You remember
platform?
when the parties, the Democrats still have it, but the Republicans would argue
Yes.
about the platform, how much against the abortion are we? All the
They would come
specific-
out with their planks in the platform.
They
remember?
stopped that with Trump.
Yeah.
Because Trump didn't want to be limited to the platform. The Republican
He changes
Party,
his mind every 30 seconds. How can you have a platform?
the Republican Party to this day no longer
No.
has a platform.
No,
Isn't
they
that
don't.
an amazing thing?
Yeah,
It's no longer the Republican Party. You're right. It's Trump's. It's just
Agreed.
Trump's
But
party.
they don't care. They want to vote for
They
him
don't
anyway.
care.
Right.
Oh,
They don't need
absolutely
to.
they don't.
They don't need to see a platform. They
Right.
don't need to see.
So
a
how
game
do I
plan.
convince more of them that it's useless to vote, that the whole thing's rigged and they shouldn't even vote?
Again, I still, Bruce, think that's a small part of people. When I say that the inner circles of the Republican, party or people who are Republicans, yeah, there are a number of people that still think that that thinks that the election was rigged yesterday.
If you think it was rigged, then don't vote because your vote is wasted and it's going to be rigged again.
Trump's done recent interviews just in the last week where he has referred repeatedly back to that his election was stolen in 2020, and then yesterday said the 2024 election is going to be
he's already
rigged.
set up the fact that if he it's only the MAGA world it's only a good election if you win.
Right.
That's the only good. Everything else is rigged. So, I mean, it's boy that cried wolf. And I agree. I think the majority of people I'm going to use sane people who are out voting, if you're talking about the last election, you're losing.
No, and we didn't see that in the news cycle yesterday. You didn't see a lot of people feeling threatened and they gave me a blue pen and I'm supposed to use a pink pen.
Right.
Bamboo paper.
That's all sort of fading away.
Well, only because Trump won by 77 to 23%.
If he wouldn't have.
So let's talk about who voted yesterday and how people voted. And we're in the war room. We've got, Bruce, I think you gave it 30,000 people in Maricopa County voted
in
at the
person yesterday in Maricopa County. 30,000. They were expecting 100,000.
Okay. All right. But again,
Overestimate a little, Risher.
here's the thing. It was already decided that it's by
yeah.
Trump, so why go? Okay. How about mail-in voters? Trump got 74% of mail-in votes. It was about 200,000. Biden got about 200,000, 90%. But there was no drama yesterday, and it's probably because there wasn't a great turnout. There were no issues yesterday. Stephen Richer, Maricopa County recorder, was talking just the other day. They have put millions of dollars into new printers. Remember, we had the printer issue. And we've got to make sure that you eliminate all that stuff. Don't give anybody just a little bit where you can go and complain. Put the money
but the
in.
conspiracy theorists are going to figure something out. They're going to come up with something.
Here's the problem, guys. The system is basically the same in Arizona as it's been for 30 years. Now they've moved from the precinct model to a vote center model. There's been some changes, but the mail-in ballots, the early ballot, everything else is basically the same. What was the one thing that changed? It was that Trump lost.
Yeah.
And he started making these allegations. Nothing else is different. And the other part is that Arizona elections are now so close. It used to be that Republicans would just win. So when
Every single election.
So when weird stuff happened, nobody really looked up because it wasn't that close.
No.
Now Arizona, we're looking at every single little thing because some of the elections are super close.
Right, but those number predictions are not based on hopes and dreams. They're based on what they've seen in previous elections. So for the turnout to be that low, I'm afraid we're going to be seeing another version of that in November, and you're going to have a very small group of really frothy people pick the next president.
Emily and Barry in the war room with Gaydos and myself. All right, coming up next, will Arizona ignore Biden's incompetence at the border because he's pouring billions of dollars into the state and places things like chip manufacturing? Will they look the other way? We're going to talk about it. It's the War Room. Up next here on KTAR.
All right, Trump and Biden win Arizona's PPE. That took place yesterday. We all knew that was going to happen. On today's panel, Bruce, Gaydos, Emily Ryan, Copper State Consulting, and Barry Markson, KTAR legal analyst. Okay, so the president was in Chandler today. He's announcing billions and billions of dollars going to Intel. Question, will Arizona ignore Biden's incompetence at the border because of the fact that he's pouring billions of dollars into the state? I've said, I'm not voting for Joe Biden. I am protesting Joe Biden. That is my protest. He's done such a bad job at the border. I think he's hurt the state of Arizona in that way. This is at least my protest as an Arizonan, that I will not vote for someone who doesn't care about the border. But the other side of it is we've got a $40 billion plant out in North Phoenix. We've got
another $20
billion
billion
with a B dollar plant out in the East Valley.
Today was another $8 billion for Intel, right?
$8.5 billion. Yeah.
Well, Arizonans say, okay, the guy's a disaster on the border, but man, look at all the jobs that he's bringing to Arizona. That's
valley's
a good
jumping.
thing.
Yeah, I'm going to say from a getting stuff done perspective, you can say what you want about Joe Biden, and the border is a mess, and we can talk about that. But he put together this CHIPS Act, and people now are saying, well, the government shouldn't be a bank. The reason we did this, keep in mind, was when COVID happened, we didn't have enough chips.
Right.
We couldn't get them. We didn't manufacture them here in the country.
We didn't make any, all coming from Taiwan.
Right, and we looked up and said, oh my goodness, everything runs off these chips.
Is that because of the shipping issues?
It was a shipping issue.
Well, you remember the
production
stories
issues.
of like the Ford trucks were
Right.
filling up the stadium parking lot in Detroit because they had no chips.
Right, and it's not just the cars; it's everything is run off these chips. So without them, it's like a national security thing. You can cripple us by cripple the country by saying, "Yeah, we're not going to give you any chips right
People
now."
have a short memory, and I don't think chips is going to when you see
not
people
sexy, is it? It's
pouring
not.
over the border,
Yeah.
taking advantage of border states, the crime, the crime ring where they've been breaking into houses.
I think you make a great point.
I don't think people are going to say, yeah, but the microchips,
I
and
know.
we'll never have to worry about that again.
I
No
think-
one's thinking about that.
No.
I think you're right, but I just think it's important to point out that we are building, not just in Arizona, there's these plants going up in all kinds of states. And then Biden got the infrastructure bill passed, which Trump, you remember when Trump was in office?
Every week was infrastructure
It was
week.
infrastructure
Yeah.
week. And they'd be like, what's that mean? it's
And
like,
then there would be another disaster.
Yeah, but bury
Biden did it.
But
He
bury,
did it.
But bury the border.
Yeah, well, I
Emily's
know.
right.
You
But
know-
bury the border.
You know what's funny though is, and it happens in every election, Republican and Democrat. But the Republicans focus on something, and it's a crisis, and it's an emergency. And I will give you, the border is a crisis. I'm not saying it's not. It was going to be the economy until the economy was doing
Got
well.
better.
They can't yell about the economy anymore. It's actually doing pretty good.
Yeah.
So now it's the border. Is the border a problem? It absolutely is. Has that changed your life in any
I was
one
going to say
way?
the border doesn't
Has it
affect
changed
me in
my
the
life
slightest.
in one way?
I'm not a border voter.
I think a lot of people think that the fentanyl crisis on the streets,
Mm-hmm.
that the increasing crime, that the things that you're seeing take over your neighborhood is a real world impact of the flood of people across the border. I think a lot of people, Democrats included, see the humanitarian crisis at the border and think this isn't right. They've got to do something.
I look at the
there's a
fentanyl
vi-
issue
there's
as there is a demand for fentanyl, and the demand is on the American side.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to fill it.
But there was also a video yesterday that was circulating. I don't know if you saw it. There was a man who ran over the border, came in illegally, and he was running away from the cartel. And he literally ran into a sheriff that was on the border. This sheriff, you talk about, Emily, the humanitarian crisis. Yes, the guy's trying to sneak in. Okay, I got that part. But he's running away from someone who wants to kill him. And he literally runs into a sheriff. I don't remember if this was Arizona or Texas.
Finds an American sheriff. I want to say it was
Sheriff.
I think it was Texas.
The man is crying.
Yeah.
And the sheriff, like, you would think, okay, I'm gonna cuff him, and no, he's holding him. He's hugging this guy.
Right.
He's saying, listen, we're gonna put you on we're gonna put you in the car. We're gonna take you somewhere safe. Now, I don't know if they're gonna deport him or. That's the humanitarian side. The people that are dying before they even get here, that's the humanitarian
and a
side.
chip grant does not erase
not.
that. And maybe he can campaign on that in other states, but Arizonans
Not a
aren't going to
border
buy
state.
it.
But
No.
that humanitarian thing that you just mentioned, Gaydos, that's different. That's the reason why so many people are coming here. Is they're running in fear. They're running because they're being persecuted. They're trying to come here to have a life or have opportunities. Look, Biden hasn't handled it well. I honestly still
Hasn't handled it at all.
Not at all.
Since I've been saying since he was elected, give him 6 months. Let his people get in there and get settled at their desk, and then they'll give us the plan. Here's the plan. And we don't have it.
No.
And I don't for the life of me understand why. And it may cost him the election. But I don't think we can completely gloss over the fact that he has accomplished things that other presidents haven't done in a generation.
Do you think he would be better off? And and again, I'm not one to give them either side advice, but there was legislation that would address all of the issues that the Republicans are up in arms over. And if I'm Joe Biden, you know what I say? I go, you're right. It is such a huge crisis at our southern border. It is a disaster that every single one of these Republicans thinks we're not going to do anything about it until 2025.
I would hang that around Trump's neck
I would
and
go-
say he made the calls to make sure the legislation
It's
went
such a
down.
crisis. You refuse to do anything until after the election. BS. I'm calling you out on it right now.
He needs to do that. It should be something he says every single day, and he should do. I'm going to flash back to a West Wing episode 25 years ago.
West Wing.
But when the president walked to the Congress, because I can't remember what the big issue was, and said, "I'm coming to meet with the Republican leadership, and we're gonna get this thing taken care of." And then he got there, and the Republicans couldn't figure out what to do optically, so he literally sat outside and waited, and then they never came out, so he left. Biden needs to do that. He needs to put it in their lap. He's done that to some extent. He needs to put it in their lap and say, "I'm here. Here's my plan. This is the one that your conservative leaders came up with us. Here's the plan. Tell me what's wrong with this plan."
He does need to do that, but he also needs to do something.
Agreed.
He needs to take an action.
I'll tell
he's
you,
not doing that.
I'll tell you what he did. He signed 89 executive orders revoking and changing immigration
Most
policy.
of them are illegal.
On day one.
Most of them were being challenged in the courts, just like Trump's. They were found to be illegal.
It was working at the time, and he decided not to. He decided to write them out.
COVID was also going on.
And he didn't replace it with anything better.
No, he did not.
Well, he can't. Most of what you want him to do, he can't do. I know everybody's saying he can shut down the border on his own. He can't do that.
I hear people say that. We need to secure the border. I always ask, so what does that look like?
Yeah.
I'm curious. Has the border ever been secure in the United States? I'm just, honestly, tell me the time.
It depends on how you define secure.
Yeah.
They would say yes. Most of the people coming into the country.
There's always been people coming across our border.
Most of the people coming into the country now are coming in and asking for asylum,
correct.
which is legal. They're doing it
They are
the way
not
they're
illegals.
supposed to
They
do
are
it.
not illegal aliens. They are asylum seekers.
And what this bill would have done is beef up the ability for us to handle the asylum request quickly and then boot them out of the country.
Right.
Because 90 to
Weed
90
through 'em quicker.
90 to 95% of the people who ask for asylum don't get it.
Don't get it granted.
But they get to stay here for years before they get their hearing.
No, but it's such a crisis. We can't do anything until 2025. Remember,
Exactly.
It's such a huge crisis. Hey, welcome back. Appreciate you spending time with us in the War Room the day after Arizona's presidential preference election, as we have a esteemed panel. Experts in their fields, if you will. Emily Ryan with Copper State Consulting. Barry Markson, our KTAR legal analyst. We couldn't get Rafi. We tried, but he was, I kid because I love. And of course, Gaydos and myself. So Gaydos, I thought it was kind of interesting. President Biden was here. He took off at 1:55 p.m. I know because I was stuck in traffic trying to get here. And I saw Air Force One take off at Sky Harbor. But I didn't see when he landed yesterday.
Yeah, remember we saw him land, and guess who was
like,
not there?
Where's Governor Hobbs?
Not
and
there.
then he was at this Intel chip plant and all this money. Where's Governor Hobbs?
And this is what the president said.
Thank you, Governor Hobbs. She had to leave, but welcomed me to the state.
Wow.
Like this is why you just missed her. Oh, she was just here. It's like having I have a girlfriend in Canada. Like she was not there.
In all fairness, though, how often do you see Governor Hobbs out and about?
Well,
I mean, it's not. It's kind of a rare
but
occurrence.
It is the president and the same party.
I'm with you.
You see her out and about at events, and it is impossible to resist the allure of the President of the United States, no matter what party you are, and getting that photo with him. She's not doing it because she's smart.
Yeah.
He polls terribly. He'd do nothing but tank her and tie her to the border
Did you
crisis.
see the picture of the two? No.
Because it doesn't
I was
exist.
going to say, what picture?
You're not going to see one.
You're not going to see one.
She's
It's
too
true.
smart for
That's
that.
how Governor
no, you're
Hobbs handled this. She did not meet him when he
Interesting.
walked down the stairs from Air Force One, and I'll say this, I don't know if she was out at that event. I didn't see her necessarily.
You just missed her.
But I think that some people are telling me she was there and then she left. Wait, you have nothing better. What do you have better to do than listen to the president?
Just got to run the state.
I get that.
And also, somebody might catch a picture of her standing next to you.
She criticized the federal
Right.
government's
She did.
lack of performance in her State of the State address.
Right.
She's not going to
And
pose
she
for a
asked
picture
for
with
what, $650 million for
Dude,
border security issues.
It's
and-
like Vanderpump Rules. You can't be caught standing next to Tom Sandoval in a picture. It's just not good. You can't do it.
Oh, what a callback! That's good.
All right. Who is better when it comes to the stock market, Donald Trump or Joe Biden? And is it fair to try and compare the two? Because
I think it's a tough thing.
I have the stat.
Well, I would
Okay,
say I
yeah,
think it's
I'll
a
give it to
tough
you in a
thing
sec.
because
I know it.
Again, we talk about having short memories. COVID fundamentally changed the global economy.
Yeah, but
Right.
if you take Trump's first 3 years compared to Biden's first 3, so I'm taking COVID out of it.
Okay.
It's still way better under Biden, not just the stock market, but the economy overall. It's if you look at every benchmark we look at in the economy as far as job growth and everything else, there were more jobs added under Biden. There's more economic growth under Biden. The GDP is higher under Biden. Everything, wage growth is higher under Biden.
Hold on.
People are making
Wait a
more
second.
money
Barry,
under
Barry,
Biden.
No
are you
way.
telling me
No.
Yes.
that the guy who bankrupted a casino
Not just one.
his own university.
Yeah.
Stakes, an airline company, and has found to be fraudulent in the running of his actual business, might not be a business genius? Is that what you're telling me?
That's not fair, and you know it.
What do you mean it's not fair?
In 2019, did we not have the best economy?
No.
One of the best economies in United States history? The answer is yes.
We had a great economy in 2019.
Yeah.
The one last year was better. Our GDP
Yeah.
was higher last year by far
How's
than it
inflation?
was in 2000.
How do people feel about the economy?
Our inflation last year was
better than 2019?
A tad higher than it was in 2019.
A tad?
How much more money are people? How much have people's raises, their wages, gone up since Biden's been president?
I think, and
wages.
that's the real problem because I don't think people think like that. I use the term like if you get a raise at work, you think you earned it. It's because you're valuable and they realized it. If the price of eggs goes up, somebody's screwing you.
Right.
Let me give you the stat. We were talking about the stock market. The stock market has been up 34% since Biden's inauguration.
All-time high.
That's it. It's better under Biden.
Yeah. And it's at an all-time high. Literally record highs.
Best stock market we've ever had, lowest unemployment we've ever had. There's
My
a lot of
401k is
other than the border.
I love looking at it.
Other than the border, what has Biden done wrong?
We have 30 seconds, and I need 4 hours for that. All right, that's the war room.
Emily, thank you so much. Barry, appreciate it. Really, thank you guys.
Here, guys.
You'll be back in upcoming war rooms. Concern yourselves not, all right?
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.